Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Raja Janarandana Yashodanandana Braja Janarandana Yamunatiravanachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Nittai Gauranga Jaya, Nittai Gauranga, Nittai Gauranga Jaya, Nittai Gauranga. Radha Vrindavan Chandra, Radha Vrindavan Chandra, Radha Vrindavan Chandra, Shri Radhe. जी की, श्री श्री श्रीनिवास बालाजी की जय। ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस प्रभुराजगाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतश्री श्रीमद् शिवाय इंग्रेज अभय चरण अरविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नामाचार्य हरदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की ब्रजभूमि वृंदावन धाम की, मथुरा धाम की, द्वारकापुरी धाम की, पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की, श्री मायापुर नवदीप धाम की, गंगामय यमुनमय की, भक्ति देवी तुलसी देवी की, समावेत भक्त वृंद की, all glories to assemble devotees, all glories to assemble devotees, all glories to assemble devotees, all glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya चक्षुर्वन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्यनाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। Welcome all of you for the Srimad Bhagavatam class this morning. We are discussing from the Shuddha Bhakti Samani, chapter 23, on mixed devotees compared to pure neophytes. You will understand as we proceed. As you see here, we are in section E, qualification to hear Krishna's pastimes. This is a chapter. We heard about qualifications to hear, principles of hearing, hearing without faith. All those chapters we completed. We are in chapter 4 here, hearing with impure faith. And then what fruitive devotees may hear is over. Then we are in the second part, mixed devotees compared to pure devotees. That's the part we are going to see today. There are many more. After 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11 chapters totally. We will go slowly. Is it read it?
Mixed devotees compared to pure neophytes. Vaishnavas often observe and discuss the following phenomena. Older devotees who tend to be more experienced, knowledgeable, renounced,
It's not loud. It's not loud enough.
Vaishnavas often observe and discuss the following phenomenon. Older devotees who tend to be more experienced, knowledgeable, renounced, and culturally fit sometimes have greater difficulty taking up pure devotional service than apparently less fit younger devotees.
Yeah. So, His Holiness Shivaram Swami Maharaj in this section he will explain about how it is especially talking about devotees. It's not talking about non-devotee. But amongst those who are not yet proper Vaishnavas, there is a class of people called pious materialists. Pious people. Pious people actually follow all four regulative principles very easily. They're culturally very strict. And they have never touched a cigarette in their life. They have never touched a liquor bottle in their life. These things they don't even talk about. They are very strict. They even do Sandhya Vandan 3 times a day. They go to temple, many demigod temples regularly. And they are pure in habits, pure in lifestyle. Because of being in Sattva-guna, they experience some kind of happiness also. And they may wear chandan, kumkum, everything, go to many of the holy places. For them, entertainment means going to holy places. And they also memorize whole chapters of Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter, 12th chapter, 15th chapter. Even children. There are small kids who can tell you the whole chapters in such families. So, they have, of course, do puja, they do all the important festivals according to tithi. On this particular tithi, this has to be done. It's a tradition in our family. Some of them have even Shaligram Chelas in their homes. They worship also. So very traditional families, you will find, as he says here, culturally fit. And they are pretty renounced in the sense that they are free from bad habits. They are not chasing after ordinary petty things like the common people. But nevertheless, here what he is talking about is not about such pious families. See the word he is using, older devotees he is saying. He is not talking about somebody like the one I have shown in the picture. That is a pious, that's a kind of pious family we have shown. But here he is talking about the older devotees who tend to be more experienced, knowledgeable, about which the coming slides will explain in detail, you will see. Yeah.
Indian old mixed devotees. Many devotees have Indian origin are examples of this phenomenon. Because of their cultural roots, they may have been free of gross vices since birth, have a grasp of the Sanskrit language, have extensive knowledge of the Vaishnava tradition, and may even be well versed in scriptures such as the Bhagavad Gita. Despite being
See, 4 things he is saying. They are free from vices. There is no question of illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, intoxication, anything like that. Actually, these things don't even cross their minds. They are very strict about these things. They live very, very pure lifestyle. And one of the reasons for that is they have a deep respect for the cultural behavior. For example, for mother, father, grandmother, grandfather, uncle, aunt. And they deal with other members of other families also very respectfully. They keep respectful distance from the members of the opposite sex. And because of such cultural upbringing, they are free from vices. They fear karma also. They fear what is bad karma. Oh, this should not be done. because they know that Lord is watching. There are sakshis, are many sakshis are watching, because these things are taught to them from very childhood. That's why he is using the word since birth. Since birth, they live a very pure life. Secondly, he says they have a grasp of Sanskrit language. Many of such brahmanas, they teach their children to even speak in Sanskrit from very childhood, very young age. There is a spoken Sanskrit taught from the young age. Even in homes, there are villages in India where they speak only in Sanskrit. There are full villages. They don't know any other language. There are villages like that. It came in the, if you put in internet, you will find out. It's not very difficult. They have extensive knowledge of the Vaishnava tradition, which means they also are aware of the 4 types of Vaishnava sampradayas. They have studied about the different sampradayas. And they may be even well versed in scriptures, he's saying, just like I told you about Gita. When they are children, they memorize the verses. When they grow up, they start reading the commentaries. Sharirika Bhashya, Shankara's commentary, for example. And then Sripad Ramanacharya's commentary. Then different commentaries like that they may read. Eventually, they may try to master multiple commentaries. So they study in a very, what do you call it? They have very good technical understanding of the Sanskrit words. What is the meaning of, or one word, there may be 30 meanings. They may be able to even speak that. So in this way, there are many advantages for those born in India, he is saying. They have these advantages. Read the next line.
Despite being endowed with such opulence, however, they are often unable to commit themselves fully to the path of pure devotion.
Here he is bringing up a very important point. They are unable to commit themselves fully to the path of pure devotion, he says. Like, for example, the Yajnik Brahmanas we study about in the Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto. They were reciting the Vedic mantras. They were very meticulous. Like in English, we say dotting the teeth and crossing the I, we say, which means very meticulous in the rituals and ceremonies. What should be done first? What should be done next? And what direction in which you should sit. Husband and wife, when they are sitting, they will say, you should face the eastern direction and you should sit. You should not face the south. You should not face north. They will say that in this direction you should sit. And these are the 25 ingredients you need for the yajna. If one item is missing, they will not start. And also the timing is very important. What time it's a auspicious hour or inauspicious hour. They are very particular about those things also. So in these things being endowed with such opulence, however, they are often unable to commit themselves fully to the path of pure devotion, he is saying. But although the Yajnik Brahmanas were very strict with all their practices and everything, when it came to serving Krishna, Balram and covered boys, they failed in that. Correct, no? So he's saying they remain conditional devotees with mixed faith, he's saying. Despite these 4 qualifications which he says. They are freed from gross vices, they have a grasp of Sanskrit language, they have extensive knowledge of Vaishnava tradition, and they may be well versed in scriptures. Despite all these things, they are unable to commit themselves fully to the path of pure devotion, and you will come to know slowly why is it so. You will come to know.
Western young counterparts. In contrast, their Western counterparts generally come from backgrounds without spiritual training and, of course, have not been previously exposed to Vaishnava culture. They do not have the advantage of birth in India, and by the time they reach their teens, they have usually indulged in unspeakable sins.
Yeah. So this is one of the very traditional famous pictures in Prabhupada's times. Here you can see Prabhuji's Matajis all are wearing saffron. Because Prabhupada, when he took saffron cloth, they tore it into multiple pieces and everybody took a piece of cloth and they wore. So somebody may think they are very niggardly or, wearing such like blankets, wrapping blankets all over their body. They may appear foolish for the outside people, but the faith they carry is enormous faith in Srila Prabhupada. They were sold out to Prabhupada and they were willing to do whatever he said. They had pure faith in him. So here is the example of people coming from the West. They had no spiritual training. They don't know what is Vaishnava culture. They have never heard the word Krishna. Who is God, they don't know. But when they reach their teens, by the time a boy or a girl becomes 13 in the West, they leave home and they are on their own. Huh? They roam here, there, and they pick up all bad habits. They smoke, drink, take to drugs, and they have changing partners. It happens to many people. May not be all of them. Some of them come from conservative families, pure families, and they may continue to stay with parents. We have seen in ISKCON, but we are talking about the general trend in the West. So, although they appear to have a very torn background, culturally speaking, they have the wealth of faith. And now we will see how.
Despite these apparent disadvantages, however, Western devotees often heed Krishna's message of deliverance sooner and more easily than their more cultured Indian counterparts.
Yeah. See, Western devotees, they pay heed means paying attention to Krishna's message for deliverance. Very much. They are very faithful in hearing the message. Unlike the Indian cultured counterparts, and there are various reasons for this. Actually, when average Indian comes to a temple and hears a class, because he is already learned in Sanskrit, he already knows multiple commentaries and scriptures, and already he has heard many big speakers, stalwarts and scholars. In South, it's all the more. Of course, in North also there are Ramcharitmana speakers and everything. And Vrindavan, at any given time, there are 50 kathas going on during the Kartik month. So people who are learned, so one of the things, that pride that arises from learning and knowing multiple commentaries, and the high birth and pure habits, and not succumbing to dirty habits and all these things. So that gives a sense of false pride to Indians. And they are not in a mood to listen to the message of Krishna. So Prabhupada says in one place, in America when he started preaching, he didn't have to convince people about not worshipping demigods. Because they didn't know God or demigod. They had no problem. When Prabhupada said God is Krishna, they accepted. In India, you say God is Krishna, they will say, why only Krishna? What about Shiva? What about Ganesha? The people will argue like that. And hours and hours may go in argument. And people, this is exactly similar to the story we hear about a boy who already came with knowledge of Mridanga. Another boy who came with no knowledge of Mridanga. He had never touched a Mridanga in his life, but he wanted to learn Mridanga. So Westerners were like that. They never got a Mridanga. Whereas a typical Indian is like one who has several times tried Mridanga on his own. He has learned many wrong steps. Now, if the teacher has to teach him, what teacher said? For you who knows Mridanga, 1,000 rupees fees. And for the boy who doesn't know any Mridanga, 500 rupees, he said. And the boy was surprised, sir, I already know. Why are you charging me 1,000? He said, first 6 months I have to undo all that you know. And then I will teach you the real proper steps, he said. And that was the problem with Indians. Yeah, go ahead.
Krishna's message of deliverance is Bhagavad Gita. They may even be more ready to dedicate their lives to serving Lord Chaitanya's mission.
Yeah. So, you all know that. Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Braja. So, when Prabhupada taught this, that one should dedicate one's life as a brahmachari, sannyasi or grahastha, many of them actually came forward very smoothly, very happily to throw away everything and follow this path. They understood this is the way back to Godhead. They developed full faith and they came. Yeah.
Why this paradox? The cause of this paradox lies in the difference between the quality of faith of the two categories of devotees.
The faith is the most important prize in spiritual life. Shraddha Mulye Shraddhanam Sehatite Bikai. You say, no? So Lord Nityananda is selling the holy name, but what is the price he is asking from the jivas? Faith. Shraddhavan Jana He Shraddhavan Jan is saying, oh Jan, if any of you carries the currency of Shraddha with you, then you are in the right place, the right market. Come here, he says. Then he says, then I'll give you the holy name. So, in 4.40 and in 9.3 verses in Bhagavad Gita, you can hear more about Shraddha. In the 9.3, Ashtadadana Purusha Dharmasya Saparantapa Aprapya Mam Nivartante Mrityu Samsara Vartmani. In that, 3 types of devotees Prabhupada says. The third class of devotees They come to ISKCON, they also take to devotion service superficially, but they may not stick on. After some time, they'll go away. And the reasons? He says they have come with some material motivations. They were feeling stress in life, working in an IT company or something, they wanted relief. They came, they got some relief by chanting, dancing, festivals. Then they will only come for attending some festival, darshan and kirtan, dancing, and then they will take some prasad and govindas and go away. That's what they were looking for. They got it and they don't progress beyond that. Occasionally, once in a blue moon, they may visit like that. So they are like third class. Or they may be inclined to, social service movements, or kama karma bij. We say like jnana bij, karma bij, yoga bij. They may have those seeds which they might have received from other organizations before, due to which, their heart is not pure enough to accept this path. So Prabhupada says that in the third class of devotees, their faith is very feeble, very weak, komal shraddha they have. Mostly they'll go away, or they may stick on for a while, they can come to second class. And the second class of devotees, who are they? They don't have vast knowledge of scriptures, but they have faith. And the Western devotees were like that. The Western devotees didn't have vast knowledge of scriptures when they met Srila Prabhupada. They were not arguing. When they came to India, some of them became polluted by some of the other Gaudiya Math, other organization when they came and met certain people. And then those Gaudiya Maths, they gave them different explanations and interpretations of the scriptures, and then they started telling that your Prabhupada has not given full this and that. And then they started even asking many questions. So you will see that. But otherwise, when they met Prabhupada, their heart was innocent, they had innocent faith. And although they were not very learned, that is second class faith, second class devotees. But second class devotee, overall, he has faith in the path of bhakti. When he sees the practice of devotional service and the goal that is presented, he accepts it. And the first class devotees are those who are vastly learned in scriptures. They can present suitable arguments, and they know the nuances in the path of devotional life, and they know what are the contradictions and how the contradictions can be resolved based on the understanding of the scriptures. They know it. And they know the letter of the law, spirit of the law. They know those things. And they also know what are the confusions and controversies and contradictions that people bring up, and how those things can be resolved both through the realization achieved by the practice and by the revelation from the Supreme Lord. So gradually, when one becomes advanced, then one will come to such a first stage of devotion service, where one's faith becomes deep-rooted. Just like you all know, a mango sapling can be easily uprooted, but a mango tree cannot be even shaken. So the second class faith is like a mango sapling. First class faith is like a mango tree. You can't even shake it. They develop a very deep-rooted faith. So why I told you these three levels of devotional service, which Prabhupada talks about in 9.3, because the second category of people fit in this one. The Western neophytes mentioned above are fit for more advanced surrender because their faith is pure. So they have very strong faith. Like you can see in the picture, they go on Harinam Sankirtan very happily, the Western devotees, based on the wisdom they received from Srila Prabhupada and the conviction they received from Srila Prabhupada. They are happy to go. And in India, you get even your dozen Brahmanas to come with you for Harinam. It will be very difficult. In Pune itself, I don't want to mention the area. There are areas where there are Kattar Brahmanas, very strict Brahmins. They will be very rigid about performing Sandhya Vandan, rising in the morning and chanting the mantra, and according to Tithi, Nakshatra, everything they will do. Tell them to chant one round of Hare Krishna mantra, they will not do. And they will not participate. So that's what he is saying. So, of course, you find sometimes Mayavadi is also singing Harinam. Nowadays you find in YouTube, if you go, there are Mayavadis even dancing and singing Harinam. Especially those who are wearing, bhasma on their body. Because the bhasma represents three things. Kama, Krodha, Lobha. You burn it and make it ashes and you wear it. That means emphasis is more on detachment than awakening love of God. Whereas in Vaishnava Siddhanta, we wear tilak like this. This represents the lotus feet of Krishna. and the tulasi, which means our emphasis is more on awakening love for Krishna, not just detachment. In fact, if you awaken love for Krishna, Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayatyashu Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Yadahaitukam. Jnanam and Vairagyam are two children of the Bhakti Mata. So you welcome Bhakti in your heart, then Jnana Vairagya will follow like a shadow. So now, why are the Mayavadis chanting and dancing nowadays in some places? You see, they also propagate the holy name. I'll just show you just 1 minute. And see this one.
எல்லாரும் பகவானுடைய நாமத்தை உச்சாரணம் பண்ண வேண்டியது. நான் சொல்றேன், அது எல்லாரும் சொல்லணும். ஹரே ராம ஹரே ராம 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 ஹரே 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 கிருஷ்ண ஹரே கிருஷ்ண 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 ஹரே ஹரே Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. இந்த நாமத்துக்கு ரொம்ப மகிமை சாஸ்திரத்தில் சொல்லுது. நாம் எத்தனையோ பாபங்கள் பண்றோம். அந்த பாபங்கள் எல்லாம் இந்த நாமத்தை நாம் சொன்னோமானால் அது நீங்கும். அந்த பாபங்கள் எல்லாம் நீங்கிறது வேறு எந்த வழியும் நமக்கு கிடையாது. இந்த நாமோச்சாரம் ஒன்றுதான் வழி. அதனால இந்த நாமத்தை உச்சாரணம் பண்ணினால் நம்ம பாவங்களும் நீங்கும், நமக்கு நல்லதும் ஆகும். எல்லாத்துக்கும் இதுதான் மூலம். எல்லோரும் இந்த உண்மையை தெரிந்து கொண்டு தினந்தோறும் உங்க வாழ்க்கையில் ஒரு 10 நிமிஷம் பகவான் எதிர்த்து உட்கார்ந்து கொண்டு இந்த நாமத்தை சொல்லி பகவானை பிரார்த்தனை பண்ணும்போது உங்களுக்கு எல்லா விதமான க்ஷேமம் உண்டாகட்டும் என்று உங்களுக்கு ஆசீர்வாதம் பண்றேன். நம் ஹரணா பார்வதி பதயே.
Now you may be surprised. Oh, they are also chanting Hare Krishna like us, and they are even preaching it, you may think. But if you go little deep in their philosophy, what is their understanding? They will say that this mass of people, they can't study Vedanta. They can't study the scriptures very deeply. They are fallen souls conditioned with 3 gunas and stuck in samsara. And for these people, there is no other way other than chanting of the holy name. This is a very easy thing they can do. So they say that you guys chant the holy name and gradually get purified of your sins. And on the other hand, those who are exalted in knowledge of Sanskrit, or born in Brahmin families, who are renounced in the sadhu's order, sannyasi order, we can study the Vedanta Sutra and everything, and we have more deeper understanding of knowledge of Shastra and everything. And if you find them chanting the holy name, even the sannyasis, they may chant for 2 purposes. One is to get rid of sins or to get moksha, which Srila Rupa Goswami vehemently condemns. He says, bhukti mukti spriha yavat pishachiti vartate, he says. But these people use the holy name as a means for getting liberation. It's like a spoon. You take a spoon to mix a juice. Once the work is over, throw it. So they use the holy name like a use and throw method. Therefore, their devotion is self-serving devotion. It has nothing to do with Vaishnava Siddhanta, which talks about love of God. Actually, this is more dangerous than atheism also, in one sense. Because in atheism, what happens? In the Western world also, when Prabhupada went, there were atheistic people who were arguing, and then Prabhupada knocked off their atheism and they became devotees. On the other hand, if somebody maybe looking like a religionist and spiritualist, but they are determined that the holy name is only a means. Holy name is a tool, not the goal. Huh? One thinks like that. Or one thinks the Bhakti Marga or the Murti Puja is only a tool, not the goal. Those are the people who can never develop faith. It is just not possible. Because they are convinced based on their own, a screwed up understanding of the Shastra, that the deity is only Murti Puja and Mantra Upasana. These are all meant for, as a means for, going to the highest stage of Paramarthika stage. In Vyavaharika, the Jiva and Ishvara are different. In Paramarthika stage, they have a Ishvara, Jiva, Aikya Jnana. They want to merge in God. So anybody who is convinced about this philosophy is doomed. Mayavadam asat shastram prachannam bauddham uchite. Mayeva kalpita Devi Brahmana Kala Murtina. Shiva says that I will appear as a Brahmana in Kali Yuga and I will teach Mayavada philosophy. So Mayavadi Krishna Paradi, it is said. And here is the root of why Indians don't have faith. Here is the root cause. Because India is flooded by, Prabhupada said, I don't want to exactly repeat everything, but Prabhupada says that two big fellows have spoiled the devotion service by giving all impersonalistic philosophy or yatoma tatopat philosophy. You can do anything. Somebody is propagating nationalism as a religion, which has nothing to do. It's a ridiculous thing. Bhagavatam says, Yasyatma buddhir kunapeti dhatuke, verse says, bhauma ijjati. Why a person is considered like a go or a kara, cow or an ass, one is attached to the place of birth. It is condemnable thing. And that is going on in the name of religion. Another person is saying, yatomat tatopat. You can follow any path you want and all paths lead to same goal. So Prabhupada asked, you take a train ticket to Madras and can you go to Delhi with that ticket? And he's saying all paths lead to same goal. And Prabhupada quoted the verse, Yanti deva vrata devan pitran yanti pitravrataha bhutani yanti bhutejya yanti madhya jinopi mam. That verse says, if you worship demigods, you go to demigods. See, bhutani means what? Worshipping ghosts, spirits, and also ancestors from a material point of view. If one worships, not for a spiritual elevation. Then like people go to the graveyard sometimes and keep a flower and come, correct now? So bhutani yanti bhuteja. So then these people can never attain Krishna. So Krishna says, yanti madhya jinopi mam. He says, those who worship me, come to me. And Krishna doesn't say all people come to me. Krishna says, if you worship demigod, you go to demigod, don't come to me, he says. So people who preach yatoma tatopat are people who preach nationalism as religion. And another impersonalistic category people, they say murti puja or mantrartha chintanam, meditating on the mantra, silently chanting or audibly chanting, whatever it is. But these people give up chanting and give up murti puja also after some time, saying that we used it as a means, now we have attained moksha, we have come to Paramarthika stage now, and we don't need that anymore. So if they preach this to their followers also may do Nama Sankirtan with that motivation. In the homes of many people in South also, there are Nama Sankirtan going on. It may appear to you that, oh, they are all Vaishnavas. We may be innocently thinking like that. They may be doing Nama Sankirtan. You catch them, ask them their goal. What is your goal? They will say moksha. You want to attain moksha. Moksha is called as Kaitava Pradhan. It's not only Kaitava Pradhan. It is a king of cheating. According to our sampradaya. King of all cheating means the cheating begins from, dharma projita kaitavatra paramo nirmacharanam satam. If you go to Lord with any material motivation, earthly or heavenly, that itself is cheating. But to aspire for moksha means to avoid the service to the Lord. And then relax in Brahman with the idea of eternally remaining separate from the Lord, imagining oneself to be Supreme Brahman. The greatest cheating. And because these kinds of philosophy are being propagated in India, this has killed the service spirit in the heart of living entities. And any of us have survived, it is only by the blessings of Vaishnavas. And I come from South India also. I was steeped in these literatures before coming to ISKCON society. Right from my, 6th, 7th standard, I had a group of friends We used to talk all this Mayavad philosophy, different shades of it. So fortunately, I was saved when I came to the college days. Why Prabhupada is so heavy about all these bogus philosophies? Because these bogus philosophies kill the Seva Bhava. Therefore, he is so heavy. Newcomers cannot understand why Prabhupada is calling rascal, Rogan, all these things. Because it is killing, it's going to the root of the jiva's tender feelings for the Lord. And it is, imagine, for example, you take a newborn child and you twist his neck and kill him and throw him in a well. Will you be angry with that person or not? And that is what these fellows are doing. Our bhakti bhava for the Lord is like a tender child. And these fellows whom I told you just now, this is impersonalists, this Jatoma Tattvapatvale and all this nationalists, these people are twisting our neck and throwing us in the well, killing the child of tender devotion. On the other hand, the Vaishnavas are stopping that person and taking the tender child and feeding him breast milk and nourishing the child. Once the child grows up and becomes strong, then he can punch on the nose of the fellow who was about to twist his neck and throw him, isn't it? Because once our bhakti becomes stable, steady, strong, and we have already opened our eyes and we got up and we can see what is what properly, then we can oppose all the false philosophies. Correct, no? Yeah. Please read further, the Western. Again, we read from the beginning, the cause.
Why this paradox? The cause of this paradox lies in the difference between the quality of faith of the two categories of devotees. The Western neophytes mentioned above are fit for more advanced surrender because their faith is pure.
Yeah, that means their faith is very nice now, pure. At the same time, they have chance to surrender even more, which means they can now devote time to learning the scriptures more nicely and become more deep-rooted in their Shraddha. Because the Shraddha has to be strengthened. The roots of the tree have to be strengthened. It is not enough to have just faith. Because unless you come to Nishtha stage, any stage prior to Nishtha, our faith can be taken away. Our faith is wavering faith. From Nishtha onwards, it's Mazboot, very strong faith. Then Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, Prema, those are all advanced stages of increasing sturdy faith. But prior to Nishtha, it is not sturdy faith. So therefore, they can advance in their surrender. Yeah.
Despite their struggles with sense control, they deserve the respect of even the more learned and self-controlled devotees of mixed faith. However, as long as these less experienced Western devotees remain in the neophyte stage, Kanishta Adhikar, their position, though advantageous, is still dangerous.
Yeah. Here he is saying that despite the struggles with sense control, that means the Western devotees have faith, but they may be struggling with their sense control because of lack of good culture, habits, behavior, everything like that. Like for example, when Prabhupada went to the Avalon ballroom, he went with two people, Kirtanan Swami on one side and Ranchod Prabhu, I think, on the other side, two of them. And Prabhupada saw that there were strobe lights on the stage, a lot of lights were moving back and forth. And then there's a passionate environment. Boys and girls were stoned in drugs. There were more than 1,000 of them. When Prabhupada went to the stage and watched, most of the people were like in semi-state of consciousness. And then Prabhupada sang the Hare mantra. He made Allen Ginsberg speak also a few minutes. Made him sing, and Prabhupada sang intensely for a long time actually. And then when Prabhupada walked between the two crowds in the aisles outside, then he said, this place is no place for a brahmachari, he said. But one thing happened. Ranchod Prabhu, because of that dirty vibrations there, he picked up bad association. See, bad association doesn't mean you have to go and sit with somebody and talk for a long time. One small thing you observed, it just clings on to you. And then you keep on munching on it in your mind. So he just got to see some boys and girls entering into flashy cars, dressed in glamorous dresses, and laughing and joking and sitting and going for sense gratification. When he saw that, so he also wanted to do that. So he went to the temple and picked up some money from the authorities and came back to Avalon Ballroom, and then he became one of them after that. And after that, he got lost. So now he had the sincerity to meet Prabhupada and go up to the point of even initiation also. But later on, he took a U-turn and went back because of lack of training in good habits and culture. Correct, no? This is one problem that can happen That's what he's saying here. Despite their struggles with sense control, they deserve the respect of even the more learned and self-controlled devotees of India, is, as he said, of mixed faith. See, in India, as I told you, many things. They may know Sanskrit, they may know Bhagavad Gita, commentaries they must have read, they may be pure in their habits, culture and everything. Still, because they lack the deep faith Western devotees have, therefore, even the so-called advanced Indian devotees can respect Western devotees for their faith, like that is saying. Because you can see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu respected that old Varisan lady for her faith, and South Indian Brahman also for his faith. And then Mathura, southern Mathura, there was one Ramdas Vipra Brahman, no? Mahaprabhu loved and respected these people for their faith. Wherever Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw the spark of faith, he deeply respected it. You will see that. He hardly bothered for what is a caste, creed, color, nationality or anything. Like Mahaprabhu saw Ramanand Rai. Kibabe pragyabanyasi shudra kena nai. Jaya Krishna tatpaveta sahi guru hai. He's saying. He's saying that anybody who knows Krishna Tattva, has Shraddha in Krishna, should at once be respected. No matter, irrespective of gender, irrespective of caste, creed, color, nationality. Yeah, go ahead. So one more point he's saying here. But if the Western devotees remain in the neophyte stage, Kanishtadhikara stage, that is very dangerous, he's saying. See, for example, as I told you in the picture, they are going for a Harinam and taking part. Based on Shraddha and Prabhupada. When Prabhupada left the planet, he went back to Godhead. Some of them also left ISKCON society. Not that they left devotional service. They may not go to temple due to some tussle in the temple with somebody, but then they may practice at home. But then because of lack of association, some of them gradually, their devotional practices waned away. Yeah, it was, it just disappeared. And then they appeared like karmis, like non-devotees. But eventually when they meet seriously practicing devotees, again they may pick up. That happened to some people like that. Therefore, he is saying that although Western devotees have Shraddha, that Shraddha should be substantiated by wisdom of the scriptures and the sincere and serious devotional practices. These two are very important. Because if you don't cultivate knowledge, you don't have elevation in knowledge. And if you don't cultivate devotional practices without abhyas, then you are not watering the devotional creeper. The devotional creeper will dry without watering it through Shastric study and practical application. Yeah.
Until their devotion becomes fixed, their passionate nature and lack of spiritual knowledge make them prone to fall down. Only when they come to the stage of Nishtha do they acquire advanced spiritual qualification. And only then does their youthful daring in spiritual life bear its first major fruit, freedom from past bad habits.
That is anarthanavritti. Anarthanavritti will happen. If they very intensely practice, they can become free from the anarthas. And they will, actually, how is the anarthanavritti? When you attain anarthanavritti, it will appear to you like as if the ropes tying your hands and legs are all relieved now. It is like, imagine you are going through a street and you are chased by a bulldog. It's coming behind you. You are running. So you are extremely horrified by the sight. But somehow or other, somebody gave you lift in a car or something and then they took you away. Then how you feel relief in the car? So that's how you feel when anartha takes place. Because anarthas are chasing after every living entity. In the form of allurements externally, temptations externally, and then inner pushings through the kama karma bijas. The kama karma bijas are, so we are like an ant in a log of wood where there is fire on either side. There is fire inside, fire outside. It's like that. So the living entity. But after anartha this fire is put off. There is no more danger. No danger inside, no danger outside. One feels completely relieved. Just like, for example, some of you here, you might have been eating meat before, for example, before coming to Krishna consciousness. Now you have given it up, and because you understood the philosophy, everything. Now, after practice of 1 or 2 years, you don't even look at meat, and there is not even temptation for you. Huh? What to speak of temptation? It's abominable. Huh? First of all, for its killing, and it is a dirty stuff. Huh? You understand it. So just as you are able to get rid of it altogether completely, but at the same time, there are more serious anarthas than meat eating, like illicit sex propensity. That doesn't appear impure at an early stage, but after one advances in spiritual life, then one will understand, like Prahlad Maharaj says in that famous verse, Kutra shishashtuti sukha mrigatrishni rupa vedak kalevaram ashesha rujam viroha. He's telling, look at your own body, what a horrible body it is. It's made of flesh and bone and bile and stool and urine and sputum and mucus and all abominable, obnoxious substances. Not even worth mentioning. And with that body, you are trying to enjoy another body which is also diseased in a similar way. How can one enjoy with one's diseased body, another diseased body? Like that he's asking. With full realization, Prahlad is speaking. Asanna pikleshada asadeha, he's saying. It is a kleshada. Narada means one who gives you Narayana. And the body is called kleshada. It gives you suffering. So it can give. So now, Anartha stage is crossed, then one will lose taste for sense enjoyment. Not that you will give up sense objects. See, give up sense objects called tyaga. Virakti means losing taste for sense enjoyment. It is much more deeper. What is the difference between the two? Tyaga means to give up objects externally. It is exactly like shaving the beard. Again, it will come back again. Correct, no? Tyaga is like that. You may give up, but the attachment for the objects continues in the mind. Whereas Virakti means the attachment is given up externally also. In the mind also it has vanished now. That is actual anartha. So, when all the anarthas are gone, actually, anartha is not complete stage. You will find the sukrutota, dushkrutota, they go off, I think, in nishtha stage, I think. Nishtha, anartha, anartha, nishtha. Some of them go in asakti, like that. Bhakti Yuta is the first one which goes away. In the stage of nishtha itself, it goes away, I think. And then in ruchi and asakti stage, that sukrutata, dushkrutata, they are all finished. Yeah. So in this way, when the anarthas are gone, nishtha is born, and then a devotee becomes steady devotee, stable devotee. And then their enthusiasm is meaningful enthusiasm. Otherwise, it's like a, like a flower pot enthusiasm. Flower pot, that's all, it's finished. Fast to cry, fast to dry, we say. Yeah, read the next one.
At this point only do they attain the elevated status of steady pure devotees, Madhyama Bhaktas.
Yeah.
Neophytes and fall down scenarios in ISKCON. Another example of the same phenomenon is the class of neophyte devotees who took to pure devotional service but were unable to transcend their conditioned natures and fell down. History bears out that falling down for pure devotees generally means retreating to a life of mixed devotion. Only in exceptional cases do devotees abandon Krishna consciousness altogether.
So, from the stage of pure devotion, somebody can fall down to the stage of mixed devotion. Like, for example, those Chaturvida Bhajante Mam Janasu Krutanarjuna, Artho, Jignasu, Artharthi, Jnani. So, Bharatarshaba, he says, no? So, that's mixed devotion stage. That means somebody in the beginning came to practice Shuddha Bhakti, dedicating one's body, mind, words, everything. And took up even initiation and everything. But then later on, they took a U-turn and went back. They became mixed with some, karma, jnana, yoga, bijas. Or you find that actually the 4 people who come to Krishna are glorified also in Bhagavad Gita because they have come to whom? They come to Krishna. So at last they have come to Krishna. So there are many previous stages we discussed in the previous classes. If one is not able to practice this, they will come to that next. Just like that 12.7 to 11 verses, it begins with Mayyeva manadatso mayi buddhim niveshaya nivasishyasi mayyeva atapurdvam na samshaya atachittam samadatum na shaknoshi mayi stiram abhyasa yogena tato mamechhaptum dhananjaya abhyase api asamartosi mat karma paramo bhava madattam api karmani kuruvan siddhim avapsyasi. And then he says, Adai tadapya shaktosi kattu madhyogam ashritah. So in this way, he says 3 stages. Shuddha Bhakti is the first. You can't do the Shuddha Bhakti platform. Then Abhyasa Yoga, which we are all doing. 16 rounds of chanting, following regulative principles, doing seva, serving Guru, all those things. Abhyasa epi asamartosi. If you cannot do Abhyasa Yoga also, mat karma paramo bhava. You work for me, he says. Then there are many people super enthusiastic for seva. You have seen that? But they won't chant 1 round also. They do seva. Okay, you do seva for me directly. That is good. And there are people who will not do seva also directly. They only will say, I will give donation, please leave me alone. I have many things to do outside. I am very important. So they will give only donation. So we can begin like this, give only donation. Do some work by recommending our school going team to some school for doing some value education or something. So you can give only money, or you can do indirect service, or you can do direct service. Above that, you can start chanting the holy name, come to Abhyasa Yoga, then you can come to Shuddha Bhakti. So those who cannot do Shuddha Bhakti, they will slip down to any one of the other stages. That's the point he's saying. Yeah, go ahead. Devotees?
Devotees unable to uphold their vows generally back off from the level of dedication they once had to the activities of pure devotion, especially full engagement in ISKCON's missionary activities. Generally, the problems encountered by neophytes stem from struggle with sense control, especially illicit sex.
Yeah. See, devotees unable to uphold their vows. That means if somebody is not following the 4 regulative principles properly, or one is struggling to complete his 16 rounds of chanting, they generally back off from the level of dedication, he says, they once had. For example, before initiation, people even go in the trains, buses, or sometimes in stations, they distribute books. They have very tender feelings for Guru. When will Guru Maharaj give me Diksha? I am ready to do anything. Some people say on Ekadashi day, I chanted 192 rounds, and some people say like that. They are very, very fired up before initiation. But after initiation, you don't know where are they. You find they become preoccupied with their material life. And that level of dedication is not seen. They stop all the services. They barely complete the 16 rounds. They generally presume that already Guru has given me name. That means my ticket back to Godhead is assured. They don't know the meaning of the word initiation. Initiate means start. Like you go to engineering college, first year is called initiation. You have to start studying engineering, then 4 years you have to complete 50 papers. Then you earn engineering degree. Similarly, my Guru Maharaj was selling in Camp Temple and he was giving Diksha. One boy came forward. He extended the hand. Maharaj was about to give him mala. Maharaj said, tell me the vows. So he told the vows. And Maharaj said, don't think simply by speaking the vows, you can go back to Godhead. He said, the boy became frightened. My Lord, maybe Maharaj is chastising me or what? And Maharaj said, but by following what you are speaking now, then you will go back to Godhead. He said, then he smiled. Then he became satisfied. Yes, Maharaj, I will follow. I will try to follow. Then he gave him the mala and gave him the name. So, we take vow in front of the Guru on the day of initiation. And at that time, we may be very dedicated. But dedication level reduces if we cannot uphold the vows of 16 rounds chanting, following 4 regs, doing the morning program, studying Prabhupada's books regularly, staying in the association of devotees, avoiding bad association. Isn't it? All these things, yeah. And only then we will be, and also engaging in ISKCON's missionary activities. Go out and distribute prasadam, distribute the holy name, distribute Prabhupada's books, attend the Bhagavatam classes, attend the morning programs, and take some seva from the devotees. Be connected to ISKCON and take part in missionary activities. Well, those who do this, they are exactly like a coal put in fire. It will be red hot. But a coal falls away from the fire, pat, it becomes blackish. It loses its tejas. So people who are not properly engaging in ISKCON's missionary activities, this also happens to devotees who sometimes extensively study the scriptures. Sometimes they tend to take a back seat because they think the people, conditioned souls cannot be delivered very easily. They are having too much anarthas. I am also having anartha, they are also having anartha. I have to become pure devotee before I preach, and they are not going to become purified very easily. They won't listen. Let us leave it to them. Thinking like this, some people those who extensively study scriptures also take a back seat and do not preach. So they don't go for book distribution, they don't do Harinam Sankirtan, they don't distribute prasad, they don't preach and expand the knowledge. They sit within the four walls. Therefore, Prabhupada separated from Gaudiya Math in those days and started ISKCON society. To distinguish that ISKCON society means every member of society should carry a compassionate heart and reach out the books to people, Harinam to people, Prasadam to people. Janma sarthaka korikara, paropakar. There are some people thinking that now I have become old, maybe now I can go and settle in Vrindavan. And I can, because Radhe Radhe, chant in Vrindavan and then Radharani will take me back to Godhead. This is not the mood of ISKCON. I told one leader was asking me, can I go to Vrindavan? I said, yes, anytime after 90 years you can go, I told him. Till then you live in Pune and you preach. I said, oh, really 90? He said, I don't know whether I will live till 90, he said. I said, you should not even bother about going back to Godhead. Going back to Godhead is done by your Guru and Krishna. It is their business. Your business is to please them. After pleasing them, they will do the needful for you. Why are you worrying about it? You are actually worrying about something which you should not worry. You should worry about something what they have told you to worry. After that, it became convinced. Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Now I am very clear. But many people are not clear about it. Actually, one person asked me, Prabhuji, what's your plan? You have already crossed the 50. Are you not taking sannyas? Then I asked him, why sannyas? Tell me. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, sannyas is for what? Sannyas should be taken for what? Preaching. So now don't we have preaching opportunity? There is so much preaching opportunity. We are foaming in the mouth. We are not able to cater to the demands coming from all parts of the world. And I am afraid to take sannyas because if we take sannyas and another double opportunity comes, we will collapse. We will become stressed, isn't it? So, I was telling that sannyas is taken for preaching. There is no need of sannyas if preaching opportunities are already coming. But if Guru says you take sannyas, you take. If Guru doesn't say about sannyas, you don't take sannyas. Because the goal is not sannyas. The goal is preaching. Be clear. Why are we living? The goal is preaching. Mahaprabhu says, Kalo Pancha Vivarjayati, it says 5 things are prohibited in Kali Yuga. One of the things is sannyas also. But if Guru gives sannyas for preaching, you have to take, then you take it. But if you are already having chance for opportunity for preaching, just go on preaching. Then he asked me, no, Prabhu, I just wanted to know, when are you planning, at what age you are planning to go to Vrindavan? He was asking. I said, many Vaishnavas, personal associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, never put their foot in Vrindavan. Do you know that? Very intimate associates of Mahaprabhu. There are more than 4 or 5 big associates. They have never gone to Vrindavan. Because their heart became Vrindavan. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Mora Mana Vrindavan. Actually, the goal of life is to make our heart Vrindavan, not just go to the geographic Vrindavan. Therefore, in Gita Nagari, His Holiness Bhakti Swami gave up his body. He said that, I want to teach this principle to people. You live in any part of the world, make your heart Vrindavan. So, actually for making our heart Vrindavan, we have to become messengers of Srimati Radharani and her associates and go out and distribute books, distribute the holy name, distribute prasad, distribute the knowledge. And that is our duty. The Prabhupada established ISKCON for that purpose. I read that generally.
Generally, the problems encountered by neophytes stem from struggle with sense control, especially illicit sex.
Actually, if somebody is indulging in illicit activities, I've given many things here, you see. Attachment to some creatures, sentimental friendship, impure thoughts, pornography, curiosity of the eyes, chapaladrik, seeing in wrong places, listening to lustful jokes, immodest looks, which means bura nazar, dirty looks, or words and actions and thoughts, and lack of prudence in dealing with the opposite sex, which means not honest avoidance of opposite sex, cyber sex on internet and all these things. So if one is indulging in these kind of loose dealing, this is called illicit sex, sex before marriage, sex outside marriage. One should avoid these things. And these are the things which weaken the devotional creeper.
Neophytes and fall down scenarios in ISKCON. Equally common is the devotee's sense of existential uncertainty and unease that results from being unable to fully depend on Krishna. unable to plan for the future, especially in the Grahastha ashram.
See, what is this existential uncertainty? Sometimes devotees are so unstable that they quit the devotional practices. This is called bloop, we call it. And whether they will exist or not, God knows. They are extremely vulnerable. Their mind is too hyperactive. Sometimes you find them wearing tilak chanting, another time they break the one of the four liberty principles. You find. Sometimes they are with non-devotees, sometimes they are with devotees. They are very, very unstable in their spiritual life. And they are also unable to depend on Krishna. They depend on their own crooked minds. And the mind cheats them, makes them slave of the senses. Yeah.
Unable to plan for the future, especially in the Grahastha ashram, and disturbed by the unfavorable experiences of an institution's rough embrace, devotees without suitable guidance often end up compromising their pure faith with personal desires.
Yeah, what happens in Grihastha ashrama, when a man enters into the family life, suddenly a large number of responsibilities come upon him. He has to take a house on loan and pay back the EMI. He has to purchase a car. Now the baby has come, then they have to raise the baby and pay for the school. And he needs a high-paying job. Sometimes they may consider going abroad to make money. Or he has to switch out to a bigger job which demands more time. Then the sadhana practices and missionary activities become stunted because of that. And also, the experiences of an institution's rough embrace means what? Sometimes inside ISKCON they find some political things are going on. There is group forming, and there are fights, infights. There are ego clashes. Sometimes the nepotism, favoritism shown like that, or sometimes mistreatment. Or some senior devotees erratic behavior, or they see fall downs in ISKCON society. So when they see all these different things, then their faith in the institution, faith in the leaders, faith in the, sometimes some guru has given up his practice, something. Then, so when they see these things, then the faith becomes weakened in institution and these things. And that has a direct impact on their pure faith. And then when the pure faith is affected, then the material desires pop up. They start coming. So then what do we do in these two situations? When one enters Grihastha ashram, one should keep Grihastha ashram very simple. Keep material life very, very simple. Husband and wife should be very serious about devotion service, going back to Godhead. Because if they are going to make Grihastha ashrama very bombastic and very elaborate, and they have a lot of material impressions and they want to show off to other people and all, if you want to impress the materialistic people, you are gone. Devotion service is impossible to practice. But if you are happy in the society of devotees, other devotees are also simple, you are simple, birds of the same feather can flock together. It's very easy. And regarding institutions, rough embrace, his Holiness Bhakti Prabhu Maharaj was telling, when one boy was telling Maharaj there is politics in ISKCON, Maharaj said, does Mangalarti happen? He said, yes. Does Narsingarti happen? He said, yes. Does Tulsi Arti happen? Yes. Maharaj one by one he went on asking, do the devotees sit in the hall and chant? He said, yes. Shringa Darshan happens? Yes, Maharaj. Bhagavatam class is happening? Yes, Maharaj. He said, then why don't you take advantage of all this? Maharaj, yes, Maharaj, thank you, Maharaj. And he sat down. And then again Maharaj asked him, then why do you bother about politics? Damn politics. That somebody else will bother. You don't bother about it. You are getting what you should be getting. You take advantage and push off. Don't break your head in somebody who is doing politics. Because in this world, when you start a fire in a firewood, there will also be smoke. Similarly, ISKCON is a good organization. Many nice things are happening. But some smoke will also be there. So you want smoke or fire? Fire serves, smoke troubles. So if you want trouble, go to smoke. If you want fire to serve, then stick to fire. So in ISKCON, don't find problem with ISKCON. If you are finding fault with ISKCON, then you rectify it. You be a part of solution or be a part of problem? Tell me. Part of solution. You try to solve it. Don't just keep finger pointing it and criticizing devotees, then we will become perpetual offenders. Yes.
Pure faith versus knowledge. With the passage of time, these devotees of mixed faith become older Vaishnava themselves. They have more experience and more knowledge than the new.
With the passage of time, these devotees of mixed faith, become older Vaishnavas themselves, he's saying. That means years pass. We say seniors, we say, no? Seen years. They have seen many, many years, they have seen. Huh? So they become 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. But their faith has not become pure. Their faith is what faith? Mixed faith. Keeping the mixed faith paradigm, they have grown up in number of years, he's saying. Okay? They have
more experience and more knowledge than the new recruits who have since taken to pure devotion with the same zeal the older devotees once had.
Yeah. They may have knowledge, may be more because they have read many books, and they may have more experience of ISKCON society than the new people who are coming. But the new people may have tremendous enthusiasm and zeal for missionary activities. They go on Harinam Sankirtan, they go for book distribution, prasadam distribution, preaching. They may be vigorously working. You know, Iswaran Tamaksha Maharaj says, in the early days we felt we are going to deliver the whole world in 1 week. We felt like that. They have that type of, childlike enthusiasm they have. So, but the older ones don't feel such enthusiasm because they have developed a certain paradigm that the world is a horrible place and people are not interested. No, nobody will listen. Kali Yuga also has come. Things have become very difficult. That kind of idea. Go below.
But even though they are senior, Vaishnava elders of mixed faith must acknowledge the superiority of their juniors' conviction and the pure faith that qualifies junior devotees to render a higher grade of devotional service than themselves.
So even seniors can respect the juniors' convictions and faith that they carry. And they should feel that my faith is mixed faith because I am not only depending on Krishna, I am depending on so many factors. But these juniors who are so enthusiastic, one should appreciate rather than criticize them. Yeah.
Devotees of mixed faith may be more knowledgeable and experienced than devotees of pure faith. However, while knowledge is an asset in spiritual life, it is not the primary one.
Yeah. Actually, sometimes we become knowledge hunters. Actually, I have with me almost 100 books with me. Different people have gifted me different times. I've been giving them names. I want this book, I want that book, different books. Now we have accumulated many books. And sometimes we don't get time to read. But sometimes if you develop a taste, sometimes we get into wanting to read those books. Sometimes one reading is not enough. You want to read second time, third time, fourth time. And some books are so nice, like delicious. So then we are torn between the two. Should I read more and more books and become deeper and deeper in knowledge? Or should I go out and preach and deliver the suffering souls on behalf of Srila Prabhupada and connect them to Srila Prabhupada's mission? So we are torn between these two, which one to do. So we have to keep some kind of balance in this. Because without deepening our knowledge, we won't be able to, grow thicker, grow our tree thicker. Knowledge is also very important. At the same time, knowledge alone is not enough, as he says. It's not a primary one. In fact, if knowledge increases but faith is not increasing, is it useful? It's not very useful. Like this boy, you see, so many books. He is loaded with the knowledge from the books, but no practice. Read.
The essential prerequisite for spiritual practice is pure faith.
Heading?
Pure faith versus knowledge. The essential prerequisite for spiritual practice is pure faith, the cultivation which causes knowledge and realization to become, in the words of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, more transparent.
Yeah. I have given the example of who? South Indian Brahman. Correct, no? So he had the realization, Bhaktavatsal, Parthasarathi, Lord, how he is driving the chariot for his devotee Arjuna. So he cried tears when he read Bhagavad Gita. And Mahaprabhu embraced him and told him, you attained the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita perfectly. Which is what is the goal of all of us in our lives. Study of scripture should lead us to this platform. Yeah. Sri Rupa Goswami also explains this point. Jnana vairagya yor bhakti pravesha yopayogita ishat pratamam yeveti nangatvam uchitam tayoho.
Some scholars recommend that knowledge and renunciation are important factors for elevating oneself to devotional service. But actually that is not a fact. Actually, the cultivation of knowledge or renunciation, which are favorable for achieving a footing in Krishna consciousness, may be accepted in the beginning, but ultimately they may also come to be rejected. For devotional service is dependent on nothing other than the sentiment or desire for such service. It requires nothing more than sincerity.
See, Only in the beginning stage, little bit of knowledge and renunciation are required to follow the NOI verses of 1 and 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4 verses you want to follow. You need little knowledge and renunciation in the beginning. But once you become advanced in your faith, knowledge and renunciation springs from devotion itself. You don't have to separately have them. Like you look at this Pratishthanapur Brahman, he doesn't need anything. He is doing Manasa Puja and Vaikuntha plane has come to take him. Simple Brahman with great faith. And he's cooking sweet rice for the Lord and putting his finger and getting it burnt, and Lord has sent a Vaikuntha plane to take him. We need pure faith like that, yeah.
Senior and junior respect each other mutually. In other words, no amount of knowledge, theoretical or applied, can make impure faith equal to or superior to pure faith.
Look at Hiranyakashipu, he had a lot of knowledge. He spoke about soul to his mother and sister-in-law. But, that big amount of knowledge is useless because he never applied that knowledge. But even if knowledge is theoretical or applied, still it is useless unless it turns into faith. If one has an impure faith, it cannot be equal to pure faith. Another example I shown is Romaharshana Sutta. He had also vast amount of knowledge. He was a student of Veda Vyas, deeply learned in many divisions of the Vedic literature. But he disrespected Balaram and he was finished on the spot. Read next one. Therefore,
even the devotees with impure faith may be wise. They are less fit than immature devotees with pure faith. For this reason, seniors should show a measure of respect even for their juniors.
That means even a so-called senior devotee with impure faith is less fit for going back to Godhead compared to the immature devotees with pure faith. That means in path of bhakti, what is most important? Faith. Pure faith is very important. Therefore, even the seniors should respect juniors. That means here, Hiranyakashipu should respect Prahlad. What is he doing, you see? You should respect Prahlad. Prahlad may be looking like a 5-year-old boy, but he deserves to be respected for his faith in the Lord. Correct, no? Therefore, Narada Muni is giving elaborate katha about Dhruva and Prahlad because he's appreciating their faith. In fact, they both are whose disciples? Guru is glorifying a disciple out of great affection and respect for the disciple's faith.
Senior and junior respect each other mutually. And of course, junior devotees must continue to show respect to their seniors. Devotees often disagree about the etiquette between junior devotees of pure faith and senior devotees of impure faith and vice versa.
Actually, here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is respecting Ramachandrapuri despite him criticizing him. Because Ramachandrapuri happens to be his guru's godbrother. So he respected him. That's what he is saying.
Unfortunately, at times this disagreement has even boiled over and caused physical confrontation.
For example, if you tell the senior devotees, look at the juniors, how enthusiastic they are. What they will say, Hare, ignorance is bliss. They will say. Their enthusiasm is simply a show. When they grow over a period of time, they will become mature and they will be like us. And they will say like that. Therefore, it has boiled over time, he is saying, fights. But it is not that the young devotees are necessarily immature. It's likely that their Shraddha is very stout and sturdy than those who are senior with impure faith. Vaishnava etiquette?
Vaishnava etiquette dictates that junior devotees always offer respect to those senior to them by age, initiation, and learning, even if the seniors are less strict in their devotional practices. In turn, senior devotees must offer respect to juniors whose spiritual practices are purer than their own.
Yeah. Sometimes we find a junior devotee who is sincerely, faithfully chanting more rounds and rendering services, is more humble, more dedicated, more committed than us, then we should not fear to respect them for that.
Some senior devotees challenge this proposal, arguing that these junior devotees may also fall down in the future. Therefore, they question, is it not artificial to offer respect to devotees whose efforts may be impetuous and possibly short-lived? The answer is no. We should respect devotees for what they are in the present, not for what they may or may not become in the future. The present conviction and practices of such devotees warrant respect. As Srila Prabhupada states in the following quote, a hypothetical tomorrow should have no bearing on how Vaishnavas are viewed today.
And this is the reason why Mahaprabhu made many very young people speak great things, like Gopal Guru told the glory of the Mahamantra to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Or Mahaprabhu, you will see, he made South Indian Brahman speak the glory of Parthasarathi Lord. Or Mahaprabhu glorified that old Orison lady, for her eagerness to see darshan of Jagannath. So Mahaprabhu is Radharani herself, but the way he is admiring these younger ones goes to show that how we should also, follow in that footsteps. Yeah. Ashil Prabhupada.
As Srila Prabhupada states in the following quote, a hypothetical tomorrow should have no bearing on how Vaishnavas are viewed today.
Prabhupada said, you have cooked prasadam now, it's fresh now. Don't say tomorrow it will rot. Huh? Right now it is fresh, you eat it. In the same manner, yeah, that's what Prabhupada is saying. What will happen in the future, that is no consideration, he said. In future, everyone may fall and everyone may become elevated. But we have to take the present situation. Like Dhruva Maharaj, for example, he was offended by Suruchi, but then he went to forest and became enlightened soul, and therefore Suruchi became an offender. Correct, no? Therefore, it is better for us not to offend the younger ones who are enthusiastic and advanced in their faith, and better we respect them, he is saying. And then Father Tanner says, but couldn't it be that the difference between appearance and reality? We may ask. Prabhupada saying, this is reality. If at the present moment he is free from all sinful activities, that is reality. In future, everyone is susceptible to fall down, like Prabhupada said. When he is at present, that's a consideration, he says. Prabhupada says. So the last slide now. In addition to the above reasoning, elder devotees should show respect to juniors. Offering respect to all living entities is general conduct of every Vaishnava. If Lord Chaitanya expected us to show respect even to ants, then how much more so we should be ready to show respect to one another, especially one who is carrying pure faith. One should respect. Our respect for devotees is not just based on age or somebody says, I took initiation 3 months before you, so I am your senior. This is not just a question of seniority. So that age or seniority or service contribution and things like that, that is not the only consideration. All these things should amount to pure faith development. Shraddha is the only prize in the path of Jati dhan vidya bal na kore apeksha. What is the previous line? Jati dhan vidya bal na kore apeksha. So, Dena Shuddha Krishna Shiksha, Dena Shuddha Krishna Shiksha. Jati dhan vidya bal na kore apeksha. Then Nityananda Prabhu says, I'll give you Shuddha Krishna Shiksha, but I will not see Jati dhan vidya bal, all these things. These are not the qualifications. You have Shraddha, Shraddha Amale Shuddha Nam Sehati Dipika. So, that's the point here. You see, Haridas Thakur had such Shraddha in the holy name. So, Mahaprabhu is carrying his body and dancing. You can see that. Although he was born in a Muslim family. So Mahaprabhu did not care who is who. As long as they had Shraddha, faith in the Lord, he deeply respected them. Shri Prabhupada ki, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki.